No, that's the beautiful thing about being the kind of honest I am. Because what I'm saying is true, because what I'm saying is backed up on honest to God, complete integrity, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship.
Everything that Kris started to do, I can tell you who he smoked his first joint with. I can tell you who he had his first drink with. He thought that he was getting away with something, and all of this, he was encouraged to do all of these things with adults. And I was like, y'all are not helping me out here. This is a kid.
When Chris Kelly passed away in 2013, it hit fans of Kris Kross like a ton of bricks. People were in shock, and there were tears all around. The news said it was an overdose that took him so early, but Jaguar Wright has a different take. She claims it wasn't just the drugs that caused his death. According to her, the boys of Kris Kross went through some really rough stuff as kids in the music industry. They were apparently preyed upon by adults in the industry, roped into things they never should have been involved in as young boys.
He thought that he was getting away with something, and all of this, he was encouraged to do all of these things with adults. And I was like, y'all are not helping me out here. This is a kid.
And, unsurprisingly, Diddy's name pops up in these allegations. Diddy has a long list of accusations against him, and one of the most infamous is his shady dealings with young men in the music scene. There are rumors that he gets them to do some pretty disturbing things to boost their careers. After Kris's death, whispers started circulating that Jermaine Dupri, the guy who discovered Kris Kross, might have either done something to them or allowed others in the industry to take advantage of them. Even comedian Cat Williams jumped on board, backing Jaguar Wright's claims. He publicly called Jermaine the P word, and even went so far as to call him the king of it. Williams also didn't hold back on Diddy, calling him out as well.
Jermaine Dupri, king of the if you ask me, baby. What's happening, Puff? I'll be back to you if JD ain't had enough.
Now, unfortunately, stories like Kris Kross's are not rare. Many child stars end up battling addiction after facing traumatic experiences in the industry. I mean, Kris Kross hit the big time when they were just 12 and 13. Jermaine Dupri discovered Chris McDaddy Kelly and Chris Daddy Mac Smith in 1991, and a year later, they dropped their massive hit, Jump. That song was everywhere. It topped the charts for 8 weeks and went double platinum. The duo went on to release 3 studio albums, all produced by Dupri, and each one was a commercial success. Their first album, Totally Crossed Out, even went multi-platinum, making them the youngest and most successful musical act of the early 90s. Dupri had a real knack for spotting talent. Kris Kross didn't just make waves in music, they set trends in fashion too. Their iconic backward clothing style was a huge hit in pop culture circles, inspiring countless imitations and cementing their influence on fashion trends of that era. But success at such a young age doesn't always lead to a lasting career. Kris Kross faced this harsh reality as they grew up. As hip-hop trends evolved and audience preferences changed, the duo encountered numerous challenges. Their trademark backward clothing style, which had become synonymous with their image, started to lose its appeal among fans. What seemed like an unstoppable rise to stardom eventually led to a decline in their career and their disbandment. When Kris Kross went their separate ways, Chris Smith took a different path. He decided to focus on his education and pursued a degree in business and marketing, which was pretty inspiring. On the other hand, Kris Kelly went down a darker road. The pressures and temptations of fame proved to be too much for him, leading to a life filled with immense stress and personal challenges. One major issue he faced was hair loss, which only added to his distress. There were even rumors that he was battling cancer. However, Kelly cleared things up in an interview, revealing that he had alopecia, a condition that causes hair loss. "My health is good. I just have alopecia. I don't have cancer or any other sort of disease. I appreciate the concern, but I'm doing all right," he said. Kelly spoke candidly about his struggles with hair loss and how it impacted his self-esteem and mental well-being. He shared, "Losing my hair was a constant reminder of the industry's expectations and the changes I had to endure to fit into their mold. It was a difficult journey that affected me deeply." But hair loss wasn't his only battle. Kelly also struggled with drug addiction, a fight that would ultimately claim his life. His mother, Donna Kelly Pratt, and his uncle, Lamar Williams, were both aware of his addiction and were deeply concerned. According to his mother, Kelly's addiction was a troubling issue she had known about for some time. She watched her son struggle with substance abuse and desperately wanted him to seek help. She often urged him to consider rehab programs and tried to support him in every way she could. Kelly's uncle also saw the toll addiction took on his nephew. He talked about how hard it was to watch Kelly transform from a vibrant, talented young man into someone consumed by addiction. Despite their efforts to intervene, Kelly's addiction continued to devastate his life. The consequences of Kelly's addiction were far-reaching. It affected not only his personal well-being, but also his career and relationships. His ability to pursue his passion for music and contribute to the industry was hindered by his addiction. On May 1st, 2013, just hours before his death, a disturbing video surfaced showing Kelly's final performance. It was an impromptu session in his messy living room, with beer cans and rubbish scattered everywhere. The video was heartbreaking, showing Kelly wobbly on his feet, barely able to stand without swaying. His lyrics took a dark turn as he mentioned a room full of dead bodies, reportedly from a track he had been working on.
I got something to tell them. You gotta never take losses. Put me in the rank with the big bosses. High with the eagle sign. Sit down, time to eat.
The video also showed a group of people in varying degrees of inebriation hanging out in his home. After struggling through his nearly incoherent rhymes, Kelly directed the person filming to focus on memorabilia on his living room wall. He pointed out a gold record awarded to him for selling over 800,000 albums. But the glory days of his past were long gone. Only hours later, a frantic call to 911 reported that Kelly had passed out and was unresponsive. Medical professionals arrived, but their efforts to revive him were in vain. Chris Kelly was pronounced dead at approximately 5 p.m., leaving the world in shock and mourning the loss of a talented artist. Chris Kelly's death has really made fans side-eye the music industry, especially the likes of Diddy. People are seriously wondering what exactly Kris Kross was exposed to when they were just boys. Recently, Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, spilled some major tea, saying he witnessed Diddy talking about getting the members of Danity Kane hooked on drugs and pimping them out. Now, fans are speculating that even if Jermaine Dupri himself didn't directly harm Kris Kross, he might have exposed them to things they shouldn't have been dealing with at such a young age. Kris Kross's story is far from unique, and they aren't the only ones who might have gone through the worst at the hands of people like Diddy. Another name that comes up in these conversations is Justin Bieber. So last year, Justin Bieber started making headlines again after Cassie's lawsuit came out, and that lawsuit really started unraveling some dark stuff about Diddy. Initially, it seemed like maybe people were overreacting about how toxic things could have been for Justin around Diddy. But now, with all this new info, it's hard to deny that something really sketchy was going on. Jaguar Wright also shed some light on this in her latest interview with Storm Monroe. She talked about that unsettling video where Justin is seen with Odell Beckham and Trey Songz. In the video, it kind of looks like Justin might be doing something pretty compromising with Odell, like going down on him. Some fans tried to brush it off, saying maybe Justin was just high on drugs, which is still pretty bad because it's these older guys encouraging a younger guy into that lifestyle. But Jaguar set the record straight. It wasn't just some drug thing. She said it was exactly what it looked like Justin was doing, and she pointed out Justin's noticeably wet mouth at the end of that clip as proof that it wasn't innocent at all. And it looked like Justin Bieber might not have been into what was going on because Jaguar Wright mentioned that Trey Songz was basically playing lookout, making sure no one, especially the paparazzi, caught what was happening with Odell Beckham and Justin. It's a pretty twisted setup when you think about it.
And then I think about that really disturbing footage of Bieber, Odell Beckham, and Trey Songz.
Yes.
And Trey's like literally sitting there playing lookout.
Playing lookout as Justin Bieber goes down on Odell.
The boy came up with his mouth wet.
Mouth wet.
According to Jaguar Wright, this downward spiral for Justin probably started after he spent those infamous 48 hours with Diddy. Remember that footage where Diddy's promising Justin a Lamborghini and a house during their staycation? Now that we know more about Diddy, that video just gives people the creeps. It's hard to watch without imagining what Justin had to endure under the guise of Diddy's mentorship. And yes, Diddy did end up giving Justin that Lamborghini. Like, as soon as Justin got his driver's license, he was seen driving a Lambo that looked just like the one Diddy talked about giving him. If Diddy didn't give it to him, then that's one heck of a coincidence, right? But here's the thing, why would Diddy give such an extravagant gift to a young artist out of the blue? A lot of folks think Diddy was playing the role of a sugar daddy, lavishing expensive gifts on Justin in return for some favors.
Yeah, the keys is yours when when you get 16. You're good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
And then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay, I get the mansion?
Yeah.
So where are we off to now?
He's with me, so yeah, and we gonna go full crazy.
After hearing about all the terrible things Diddy allegedly did to Cassie, detailed in her lawsuit, and what Lil Rod has claimed, it seems like Justin Bieber might have had it even worse because he was so young when he got involved with Diddy. You can see the difference if you look at a video of Justin from back then, so young and innocent, compared to how he appeared just a few years later. It's clear he went through a lot, but it's kind of wild that people are only starting to piece things together now, even though the red flags were there the whole time. There's this one clip where Justin is visibly nervous while talking to Diddy, stumbling over his words because Diddy caught him off guard. The rumor is that Justin's team had been keeping him away from Diddy for a bit because they thought Diddy was a bad influence and was messing with Justin's health, both mentally and physically. So when Diddy showed up out of the blue, ready to dive back into their old dynamics, things got super tense. There's also this other video where it looks like Diddy is patting Justin down, maybe to check if he was wearing a wire, which is just bizarre. Whatever Diddy whispered to Justin at the end, it left Justin ending the meeting with a "love you." Another thing people often overlooked was how Justin Bieber's problems with alcohol and other substances seemed to escalate after he started hanging out with Diddy. Take the 2014 Cyric party Diddy threw, where Justin was seen holding a bottle that was supposed to be Aqua Hydrate, a brand of water. But if you took a closer look, the liquid in the bottle Justin had was suspiciously yellow, hinting it might not have been water after all, possibly alcohol or something else. Years down the line, Justin openly shared how tough that period was for him. He was hurting, unhappy, confused, and even felt angry at God. It's a stark contrast to the image of him living it up at the height of his career. Despite the flashy lifestyle, Justin was struggling with some deep issues. Of course, it's important to note that Diddy wasn't the sole cause of Justin's troubles. Breaking into the industry at a young age without much solid guidance set him up for a rough ride. He was young, but faced manipulation and objectification from nearly every corner. Fellow artists, interviewers, show hosts. It seemed like everyone wanted a piece of sweet JB, regardless of whether he was okay with it. Like this one time on Ellen DeGeneres' show, she actually showed this super revealing paparazzi photo of Justin and then threw some pretty awkward questions his way. It just wasn't cool, especially considering his age at the time.
And you're just naked with your friend?
Why are you putting me on the spot like this? Gosh.
I mean, you can say, why can't you say you're dating somebody?
I'm not dating anyone, though.
She's just a friend?
She's just a friend.
Back in 2011, when Justin was just 16, he had this weird interview with James Corden at the Brit Awards. Corden was just acting all strange around him.
Into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
Fast forward a bit, and at the 2012 American Music Awards, there was this moment with Jenny McCarthy that was just uncomfortable. Justin was barely 18, and Jenny, who was 40 at the time, was all over him. He literally had to pull away from her, and he even started his acceptance speech by saying, "Wow, I feel so violated right now." It just shows how awkward and out of place that whole scenario was.
I feel violated right now.
And it's not just those incidents. There was another time when an interviewer was asking 15-year-old Justin some really inappropriate questions about the talk. Justin even had to call them out on it, like, why would you ask a kid those kinds of things?
Okay. So why don't you give it? I feel uncomfortable right now. Oh. Why do you want to know from a 15-year-old boy? That's pretty weird.
And here's Katy Perry just feeling Justin up.
Who apparently wanted to know what a Bieber butt felt like.
Justin Bieber has really been through the ringer in this industry. The fact that he managed to navigate through those dark times is almost miraculous. And while all this was happening, the very people who should have been his protectors, like Usher and Diddy, weren't really stepping up. In fact, it often seemed like they were part of the problem. Just to give you a bit more background, Justin met Usher pretty much right after he moved to Atlanta with Scooter Braun, and he was only 13 then. Justin's mom, Patty Millette, was really hoping her son would find some genuine good people in the music business. When Usher and Scooter Braun came into the picture, she thought they might be the answer to her prayers. Unfortunately, as things unfolded, it turned out they weren't the guardians she hoped they would be. When Usher took Justin Bieber under his wing, he wasn't just acting as a mentor. He also brought in his buddy Ryan Good to be Justin's swagger coach and road manager. Patty, Justin's mom, felt like this was the moment she started losing her grip on her son. Justin was just a kid from a modest background, and suddenly he was one of the most famous faces on the planet, with more money than anyone in his family had ever seen. Patty knew Justin needed someone to keep him grounded amid all the fame and fortune, but she found herself sidelined, especially when he started touring and she couldn't be there with him. It's easy sometimes to point fingers at the parents of child stars, blaming them for the messes their kids end up in. But honestly, even the most well-intentioned parents can find themselves outmatched by the industry heavyweights. These folks are like vultures and wolves preying on young talents like Justin. As time went on, Usher introduced Justin to Diddy, and that's when things really started to spiral. This wasn't just a new friendship, it was the beginning of a steep slide into some really dark places for Justin. If the rumors are to be believed, Diddy quickly took Justin Bieber under his wing, but not just for guidance. It seems it was more in the style he reportedly treated Usher when he was young. We've all heard stories about how Diddy took legal guardianship of Usher while he was working on his first album. But what kind of guardianship was it really? Instead of providing a stable environment, he introduced Usher to a very adult lifestyle. Usher himself has opened up about his time living with Diddy, which he referred to as the Puffy Flavor Camp. It sounds like it wasn't exactly the best place for a young artist to develop.
And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called.
Gene Deal, who seems to know a lot about the inner workings of that circle, has even said that Usher's experience was way darker than most people realize. He hinted that Usher might have gone through similar ordeals that Cassie endured with Diddy, even suggesting that it got so bad at one point that Usher ended up in the hospital. And it doesn't stop there. Gene Deal also spilled the beans on something he called a S-cult that Diddy was supposedly running, which he said included both Usher and Justin. The stuff he described about this group was downright disturbing.
Puff and Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all, but how dare you say a man that groomed you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know.
Dean brought up something pretty intense about Usher, suggesting he might have a trauma bond with Diddy due to some pretty heavy stuff that went down between them. This idea isn't far-fetched when you look at how Usher talks about Diddy. It's like he's always treading lightly, picking his words super carefully to avoid letting something slip that might stir up more rumors or controversy. Although Usher has never directly addressed the whispers about being Diddy's boy toy, some details that came out in the Lil Rod lawsuit kind of paint that picture. According to the lawsuit, Diddy was pretty open about his intimate history with some big names in the industry, including a rapper and an R&B singer. The lawsuit didn't name names directly, but fans were quick to connect the dots using clues like one being a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, and another who performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. Pretty quickly, people figured out they were talking about Meek Mill and Usher. But apart from the fact that Usher has talked about how wild his experience at Puffy Flavor Camp was, Diddy himself once made a comment about how he and Usher used to sleep in the same bed when he was still a minor, though he tried to brush it off as a silly fight over Frosted Flakes. And Kevin Hart jumped in trying to lighten the mood. The statement didn't really sit right with a lot of people.
Right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like, check this out. Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted.
So it's kind of understandable why Usher might seem to cover for Diddy, considering how trauma can really mess with your head. And Usher isn't the only one who seems to be under some kind of strange influence from Diddy. Meek Mill has also been acting out online, especially after he was accused of being another one of Diddy's boy toys. As you all know, Meek Mill was named in the Lil Rod lawsuit as the rapper who Diddy has allegedly had intercourse with. Jaguar Wright talked about Diddy in her recent interview with Storm Monroe, hinting she's sure he's given that behind up many times for the diddler. She even called Meek a power bottom.
I knew Meek was power bottoming.
Wow.
Well, he already done got the broke in. I just didn't know that that's why he was faking it with Nicki.
But this is not the first time Jaguar has talked about Meek Mill being passed around in the industry. In an interview with Real Life Productions, she said Meek Mill might have been used by the Smiths when he went to them for mentorship.
They do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills.
Is anyone surprised that Will and Jada are close friends with Diddy? I mean, if Meek Mill was Diddy's side piece, he definitely could have borrowed him to the Smiths if they wanted some fresh cheeks to spread. And with all the drama around Diddy lately, old pics and clips of Meek Mill are popping up again, sparking a whole lot of chatter. Like there's this photo floating around of Meek Mill and Diddy in matching pajamas, which kind of makes you wonder if they were having cozy sleepovers. Then there's this clip where Diddy calls Meek daddy. And I mean, hearing two grown men call each other, that isn't your everyday buddy-buddy talk. Even more intriguing is this video from a club where Meek Mill is performing, and Diddy just snaps his head around when Meek drops some lyrics. It looked like Diddy was hit by some intense memories or something right then. Now, Meek has been pretty vocal, trying to squash rumors about his preference. The guy practically lived on Twitter for a week straight, posting about how much he's into women. But interestingly, he never outright denied the buzz about him being Diddy's so-called boy toy. One of his tweets said, "I'm from Philly. I don't do coke or freaky-ass Molly. Nobody won't even offer me coke because I'm that heavy. No man or what would ever approach me about gay activity, and the whole place don't get flipped. Woke up seeing this on every blog like they know I'm coming, lol." Things quieted down for a bit, with folks realizing that Meek seemed to be on the edge of a mental breakdown, and nobody wanted to push him further. That is, until Diddy's ex-bodyguard dropped a bombshell. An audio clip allegedly featuring Meek and Diddy. The shockwaves were palpable. I mean, the voices on that recording, pretty darn close to Meek and Diddy. And the content? Let's just say it wasn't easy listening. Meek's screams, reportedly in serious distress, sent shivers down the spine of anyone who heard it. Trigger warning, this audio is very disturbing and very sensitive. Now, the ex-bodyguard in question, who recorded and leaked the audio, made an entire video narrating how it came out. He said it happened during one of Diddy's freak-offs, and he decided to lean by the door to record what he was hearing because he was shocked to see Meek allowing Diddy to pound him like this. He said Diddy intentionally spiked everybody's drinks at that party so they would be too drunk and too high to even know what's going on. But he didn't drink, and that's why he was sober enough to witness what he and Meek were doing.
Like, all the champagne was spiked. Everybody was passed the fuck out. I don't drink. Diddy had that man in the room. Look, yes, I put my ear to the door and I brought the phone because Diddy started going in overdrive. I ain't know what the was going on, but I just heard slapping against cheeks.
And to make matters even worse, Meek was caught following a page on Twitter that exclusively posts videos of black men hounding each other. Maybe he was trying to learn some new positions for Diddy. Who knows? But as soon as people caught him, he immediately unfollowed the page. And if that's not enough to raise eyebrows, there's more. An old song of Meek's surfaced online recently. And the lyrics? Let's just say they paint a pretty vivid picture. In the track, Meek talks about chasing his Hollywood dreams, but there's this whole section where he seems to confess to getting involved with Diddy in some not-so-savory ways to make it big. And then, he's asking for forgiveness for his actions.
I hope they forgive me for what I did with Diddy. Dream chasers. I hope they forgive me for what I did with Diddy.
It's truly heartbreaking to see the situation unfold, and it's becoming increasingly apparent that Diddy has been taking advantage of Meek for a long time. It seems Meek felt compelled to endure whatever Diddy put him through, perhaps in the hope that it would somehow catapult his career to new heights. But as we can see, that plan clearly backfired. Meek's career has taken a serious hit. He's been dropped from his label, his latest album didn't meet expectations, and now he's facing isolation within the industry as other rappers distance themselves upon learning about his association with Diddy. It's a harsh reality check for Meek, and it's clear that his involvement with Diddy has had far-reaching consequences. It's wild how many young people have been taken advantage of in Hollywood. The adults who are supposed to be helping these young stars grow are often the same ones doing terrible things to them. But let me know what you guys think of all this in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next video.